Good evening and welcome everyone who is tuning to us live right now. I'm your host Praveen and I'm really happy to be having the session today evening with Mr. Sunayan Sharma. Sunayan ji happens to be a wildlife officer and I'm really glad that Niyogi Books has given me this opportunity to interview him in person about his book Kevaladev National Park Birds of Paradise. A little about myself before we start. I run a book exchange and discussion club named Swapbook. You could find us on Instagram at Swapbook Official. Niyogi Books, I'm proud to say, is a member of Swapbook and we have collaborated on very many occasions, especially when it comes to hosting interactive sessions with authors such as these. Wildlife happens to be a topic that's really close to my heart, so I'm really happy to be having the session today with Mr. Sunayan Sharma. An introduction about Sunayan ji. He is an alumnus from the Wildlife Institute of India, dated 1985-86. He did his course in wildlife management, after which he spent time across the state of Rajasthan working in the forest department in various reserves and national parks. Today he's focusing especially about his experience with the Kevaladev National Park, which many of you would probably be knowing as Bharatpur Bird Sanctuary. Now, Bharatpur is a small little town as far as anything else is concerned, and you will encounter Bharatpur on your way towards Savai Madhopur, and that's how. But Bharatpur has much more to offer given its rich wildlife diversity. And now, without much ado, I will add Sunayan ji to this conversation. Good evening, Sunayan ji. How are you doing?
Good evening. Fine.
That's a lovely hat you've got on. It reminds me of Jim Corbett and also Kenneth Anderson.
Thanks for the compliments.
So I remember coming to Bharatpur back in 2008. This was November 2008, exactly around the time when the terrorist attack was happening in Mumbai. Rather unfortunate event, but Bharatpur remained quite visibly etched in my mind because of my love for watching birds. Of course, I don't have the kind of experience that you have. It's just a little lesser, but the magical evenings in Bharatpur, just as the sun is setting, you are on a bicycle, and then there are so many bicycle guides who are ready to show you birds. And just as the sun is setting, then you can hear the jackals howling. It's a wonderful experience. How many years, sir, were you deputed for Bharatpur?
Well, you see, I had two innings there. The first one was 88 to 91 when I was posted as research officer.
Yes.
When those were the heydays. Lots of birds in the area, and you see, that was the time when the bird colonies were there. A lot of colonies, a lot of migratory birds, all were.
Yes.
So you can say almost a wonderful time. Though the water shortage problem had already started creeping inside, but still it was quite a good time. But when in 2006 I again got the assignment, it was a park almost in ruins. It was so, I mean, heartbreaking to me. The park which I had already enjoyed, I mean, the pristine beauty of the park and a World Heritage Site, a Ramsar Convention Site, a World Heritage Site, it had lost its entire grace. The breeding colonies were gone, the migratory birds were gone, and there was no water everywhere. Juliflora, and only Juliflora. And that park was engulfed by that. It was such a bad. You see, I understand that most of the birders, they know about the ecology of this park. This park's lakes, they breathe through the water they get from outside source. That is the Ajaan Dam, which is adjacent to this park. And again, it is fed by two rivers. They are the monsoonal rivers, like Banganga and Gambhiri. The Banganga flows from Manoharpur Hills. It is close to Jaipur, on way to Delhi. And well, over a period of time, because of the governmental schemes, the water got diverted for multiple purposes. It started drying. And by late 80s, it got dried. The second source left was the Gambhiri River.
Right.
In 83, a dam was built on Gambhiri also. Well, the irony is that the dam was built in the name of saving Bharatpur against floods. And but you see, when the Banganga got dried, shoes started pinching, and the birders, the ecologists, all the entire fraternity, they were making hue and cry to open the dam. But see the irony. Instead of opening the dam in 2003, government still raised the height of the dam, and that Achna Dam swallowed the entire Gambhiri River, resulting into drying of the Ajan Dam. Means the park was denied water altogether.
Correct.
So, as a consequence, in 2004, it was all totally dry. I mean, the lakes were bone dried. And by 2006, it was all dead because the Prosopis juliflora, which was already a menace and it was already dead, engulfed most of the woodland area, the grassland area, that got the best opportunity because the lakes, though they were dry, but the subsoil moisture was there. So that became a very favorable ground for that juliflora. All the lakes got choked. That means everywhere it was only juliflora, no water, so no birds, everything gone. And well, you can make out how problematic it was for me to manage it and how sad it was for me to roam in a park where I had enjoyed so much. I had learned the first lessons of my bird watching in that park only. And the first lessons of the park management also, I mean the water park management also from Bharatpur only. It's so heartbreaking to me. And you see, situation was so hopeless that IUCN and the World Heritage Center, they were threatening constantly to withdraw the title of the World Heritage Site unless these two problems are immediately taken care of, the water problem and the juliflora problem.
Right.
The sad thing was that none in the government or in the department had any clues to it. So it was, even I got so frustrated that at one time I started feeling as if I am going to be the last director of this park. Because it was all finished. But you see, God is great. Something within me kept recharging me and motivating me. I tell you one thing very interesting. In that, situation when you are really frustrated, some mantra popped up my mind. Long back I had seen one Pakistani play where the hero of the play, he gets trapped into some impossible like situation. Then his mentor came and the mentor gives him a mantra. That mantra popped my mind. The mantra was, हमें इसी दीवार में से दरवाजा बनाना होगा. हमें इसी दीवार में से दरवाजा बनाना.
Wow.
The wall may be impregnable, but yet we have to make the gate through this wall only. That recharged me with fresh energy. And I knew fully well that whatsoever hue and cry we make and other ornithologists and other bird watchers, government was not going to yield and government was not going to part with the water against the requirement of the voters.
Correct.
So we were not to get that live water at all. So the only intelligent thing I could do was I shifted my focus altogether from this hue and cry to the water which would be really made available to us, and that was only flood water.
Understood.
So I thought, why not flood water?
Right.
So I focused on the flood water.
Hmm.
A canal passes by closely by the park
Okay.
that is called Chiksana Canal. That
Uh-huh.
works as a drain during the monsoon period. So I thought,
Okay.
yes, let us tap that. So
Hmm.
made a plan, of course, a short-term strategy, but it
Right.
could serve our heronry purpose because the
Understood.
heronries they were getting dry. So
Correct.
we built a canal, 3.5 kilometer long canal. After 125 years, it was the first experiment ever done in the park of creating anything like a canal. So we did that. It proved very
Uh-huh.
successful. And as a long-term strategy, because you see, uh, ANP requires around 550 MCFT, million cubic feet of water. Hell of a water is needed. So the
Right.
Chiksana Canal could not serve the purpose. It could give us
Okay.
70, 80 MCFT only. So rest of
Correct.
the water was to be arranged. I
Uh-huh.
I made a plan to tap the water of the Govardhan drain. The
Okay.
Govardhan drain is a 80-kilometer long drain
Uh-huh.
that fetches water from Haryana, UP, Rajasthan areas. So I
Hmm.
made a plan to tap water. And well,
Okay.
you see, that became so successful, though it needed a lot of money, and the case went up to the planning commission.
Wow.
I took them around and they got convinced with the scheme. And you see, the park is now thriving only on that water.
Understood.
Only 2 years back, more than 700 million cubic feet of water was taken from this Govardhan drain. So you can make out how successful these two projects were. And
Definitely.
the second problem of the Flora was to be tackled yet. So
Correct. True.
I made a plan sent to the government, but government was reluctant and not at all. They were ready to pay us the money. We needed
Hmm.
crores and crores and crores. They were
Right.
not ready to give money. And furthermore, there was a directive from the Supreme Court of India also that not a twig could be removed from the national park.
Oh.
So one of the top officers in the headquarters, uh,
Yes.
he not only suggested, he rather told me very clearly
Hmm.
against any kind of misadventure, lest I go into jail. So the
Okay.
situation was such that I thought that let us try something new.
Right.
I talked to the people and came out fortunately with an innovative idea of involving the people all around. So
Right.
starting by one village, and I promised them you will get the wood in lieu of the hard labor, provided you uproot all the trees. Because you see, the Juliflora eradication was impossible unless it is rooted out because
It
of
is
its prolific regeneration power. So
correct.
I decided like that, and fortunately, one by one, though starting was difficult, but gradually
Understood.
people joined. And will you believe, within a record time of 1.5 years, we could clean
Ah.
the entire park of every single plant or the huge trees even. So around more
Right.
than 10.5 square kilometer of area was cleaned overall from the entire park. And in lieu of the hard labor, people got more than 3 lakh quintals of wood. They
That's
were
good.
so happy. You may not believe, many of them told me, I may contest the election of the MLA from that side and they will vote for me.
You should
So,
have.
so the relations with them also got improved to that good extent. It was done
Uh-huh.
for the first time. And that way it went very successful. The IUCN, the World Heritage Center, who were so much criticizing us, who were threatening us,
Yes.
they
Ah.
visited the site and they were so happy. They, showered the praises like anything on us. It is in their published report also. And well,
Uh-huh.
that way the park got rescued from that serious crisis. And since you
Absolutely.
see, I had seen the park in its, uh, during that research officers period, and earlier than that, I had seen the best times of the park. Then I
Ah.
saw the debacle. And then I saw it reviving also. So
Understood.
friends were there, they were asking me to share with the other birders and the
Uh-huh.
nature lovers. He told and told the stories, and
Right,
then I
right.
wrote this book also. Uh,
Understood. I'd like to tell our viewers about what Prosopis juliflora is. It's an invasive Mexican plant. Now, by invasive, this means any plant which belongs in Mexico has no business in India. And because it does not belong to the local ecology, the fact that it's growing in this landscape, someplace which is foreign, means that local plants and animals cannot deal with it. And if it gets out of hand, it's termed invasive. And because of its invasive growth, it can negatively impact wildlife. Now, negatively impact means it will drastically reduce indigenous plants and wild animals, which is why Sunanji's fight against Prosopis juliflora is extremely important in this context. So it may seem just like one small plant, but I can assure you Prosopis juliflora is a thorny little shrub which just won't die no matter how hard you try. Isn't it right, Sunanji?
well, you see, if you look at Bharatpur, it was not
Yes.
only tiny plant; it was huge trees,
Okay.
and huge trees. I mean, one of the biggest trees of Prosopis juliflora were there, and it was
Okay.
almost the entire woodland was like that.
Uh-huh.
And of course, the lakes which were taken over by juliflora, they were
Right.
naturally they were like.
Right,
But you
right.
see, the shrubs, if they are there in the lake, they take
Correct.
away your water area.
So my second question right now, sir, would be about your book. Since there are so many books that are being written about Kevladev National Park and Kevladev Ghana Bird Sanctuary or Bharatpur Wildlife Sanctuary, could you tell us what makes your book different from all others?
Well, good one. You see, Praveerji, firstly, I'll pay my tribute to those who have written the earlier books. I mean, there are already 3 books there, and naturally, they are all treasure of wildlife's knowledge. They are real wild treasures. I
Yes.
salute them. All good books. But you see, the last book came some 15 years back. Much water flown overhead since
Correct.
then. As I told you right now, that well, you see the debacle part, and
True,
the
true.
revival. This all had to be documented. It had to be documented not only for the park managers, but for the researchers, the scientists, the wildlife enthusiasts, everybody. So,
Yes.
this book serves that purpose. I have given the first-hand account. That is more important, because if somebody else writes, may not be believed by others, may not be that authentic. So,
Understood.
so
Understood.
that is something first, which is very important. Now it will be of material use to everybody, even to researchers, scientists, for future all. And secondly, you see, since I had such a long innings, 2 innings I had
Yes.
earlier,
Yes.
it was different time. Then this was a different time. So and I have a habit of making notes. So the huge pile of notes I had. So when I was writing the book, I searched every leaf of those notes, and I could really find some very invaluable observations. And I have documented them also as and where needed in the book. They certainly will be used as a reference in future by the researchers, scientists, and everybody. The wildlife managers will also be finding them very useful for them. And thirdly, a very important thing is that you see, though basically it is a birds park, and
Yes.
well, world for the birds park, but you see other animals are there.
Correct.
Mammals are there, the reptiles are there, like the pythons are there, turtles are there, butterflies, insects, fishes. They play such an important role in the ecological balance of the reserve. But
Yes.
unfortunately, they are overshadowed. So far in none of the books, they really got the due place. So I tried to give due place to these unsung heroes in the book and written a good full chapter on them. So for future also it will be of great use.
Definitely,
Furthermore,
definitely.
you see, and what I've done, it is for the first time that the illustrated checklists on turtles, on butterflies, on odonate have been given by me,
Understood,
so that
understood.
people can identify them properly in the field also. Otherwise, it was all missing.
And
I understand they are very, very, very important
correct, correct.
animal ecology of the park. Uh, and one thing more, as a manager, I understand that for every institution, the problem is an integral part of any kind of management.
Uh-huh.
And solution lies in understanding the nitty-gritty of those problems.
True, true.
Out of my this vast experience in the park, firstly as
Yes.
a researcher, not as a top boss, then second time as a top boss, and with miscellaneous kind of duties,
Uh-huh.
I have not identified them, but I have tried to give the possible solutions also, which I tried and tested solutions. So
Right, right,
will also be of, I understand, metal use for these all people.
right, right. Understood. One thing I did notice when reading through the book, I haven't seen very many books talking about the Central Asian migration highway. I was so happy to see that you had mentioned this flight route that comes all the way through Siberia, making its way through Kabul, and finally in Bharatpur and heading down as far south as Point Calumet. So thank you for including a ready reckoner map like that, because only a seasoned bird watcher may understand what would be the Central Asian flyway, but you are making this information available for a lot of people who may not otherwise know about birds. I think it's a great place for them to start. This is my personal opinion as well. And I found the reading extremely lucid and easy flowing.
Thank
So
you.
thank you
Thank you.
again, so thank you for that. I'd like to ask you, sir, about your memorable experiences, especially around the Siberian cranes. Would you like to share some, sir?
Yes, why not? You see, Siberian crane has always been heralded as a magic species, a grand species for Bharatpur,
Uh-huh.
and not only for its snow white beauty or its red face and beak, but because of its rarity. It's so rare it had been, and
Right, right.
taking on the artist's journey through the Trans Himalayas, crossing the Himalayas, taking a journey of 5,500 square kilometers or so to reach to this Grand Central Station of Bharatpur, having their entire winter in this area and going back every year repeating this thing. So this was a unique part. You see, these birds breeding in the Siberian region close to the Ob River, they have three populations. Rather, they had three populations. They are split in three populations. The eastern one was going to the China side, and they are still continue. The western was going to the Iran side,
Okay.
almost, and the central one was coming to Bharatpur.
Okay.
And it was so rare that after 1937, 1937 was one reported by Salim Ali Saab
Yes.
in Behich area. Otherwise, they have not been reporting. And one Mr. Hume was also there. He also found in Behich area, he also found some birds. Otherwise, there are no other reportings from anywhere in the India, not from
Understood.
Pakistan.
Right,
So,
right.
such a rare bird, and they take such an arduous journey. Repeatedly, they had been coming. You say the water problem, when it started, multiplying. After 80s, the water problem started creeping inside Ghana.
Right.
Well, that certainly hit hard this bird. But initially, we were thinking that it is only that water crisis. Later on, the IUCN, the International Union for Conservation of Nature, They
Yeah.
and the International Crane Foundation people. I talked to George Archibald, their chairman. He said it is not this. The major share goes to the macho men who are sitting in the Afghanistan and Pakistan, the trigger happy guys who shoot anything flying overhead. So they have
Correct,
been
correct.
killed. George even showed me one of the slides of a 7 crane hanging in the upside down in a meat shop in Kabul.
Wow.
So, well, these all things put together, and the birds number dwindled. Even the Iran also lost that population, Western population.
Mhm.
The, our population is also gone. Though till 2002, it was okay.
Uh-huh.
Number was dwindling. The birds were coming. After 2002, there are no reportings from neither from Bharatpur nor from any other area in India.
Okay,
So,
okay.
International Crane Foundation did one thing very good. They tried a project in Bharatpur to reintroduce these. And the hen-reared chicks were brought in 92-93. The project started here, and
Yes.
again and again they had been trying till 97. They had been trying during
Okay.
the 2 directors. Unfortunately, it couldn't click. They were thinking that these will be picked by the wild one, which came up 2002. But unfortunately, they couldn't go with them. So the project could not hit a success. Yet
Okay.
it was I mean quite motivational. It was maybe in future some other time they will again try that project. Maybe we hit the success.
Understood.
So far, not a good news, except that the eastern population, which had been going to China, is
Yes.
continued, and that has some 4,000 birds. So that is a happy news. Otherwise,
good. Cranes are majestic, beautiful species. In fact, the Ramayana is said to be inspired by the sight of Valmiki Maharishi seeing 2 cranes when a hunter killed one of its mate. The other crane was so heartbroken, what is called in Sanskrit as Kranchya Pakshi. So cranes are a wonderful species, and although I haven't seen a Siberian crane, I would like to see one. I'm really happy that you got to witness them, see them feeding, their communal behavior, and the way that they so majestically fly, and especially when they glide down to come down to a feeding ground. That must have been quite something, isn't it, sir?
you see, there is one thing more I can share with you, that
Yes.
I was the only one who undertook the aerial survey also
I
to
see.
search the 7 cranes if they were using any other area in the
Right, right.
especially in this part of the subcontinent.
Uh-huh.
Though we couldn't find a single. There were ground parties also sent all around Bharatpur area with
Understood.
satellite, but could not be. Of course, one family we found in 1990, found at Talabe Shahi. It is in Dholpur district. Around 80 kilometers pro-flight distance from Bharatpur. We found a family there in 1990. When the water shortage was here, hitting hard, then the birds were coming and they were drifting away. So we were very keen to learn about what areas are they using. And we sent the ground party, one of the parties, they searched that. And very, very important, vital observations, the informations were collected through that. And to share with you, on an average, they flew for 40 kilometers an hour. They taking almost 2 hours one way. So that was information. We published a research paper also in the prestigious Indian Forester.
Right.
Yeah. So well, we had really good association with the 7 cranes. may not be crotch, but some other species in Hindi it may be called.
Possibly, yes.
But yes, Siberian crane, beautiful bird. And you see the cranes are the birds which live in pair always.
Correct.
And that is why it is believed that the other spouse dies when the first goes away.
True, true.
It is true with the Saras cranes also.
Uh-huh.
We can always feel, I mean, around the ponds everywhere, you can find the Saras. They are always in pairs. This is the only reason, because one goes, the other also goes.
Understood, understood. I'd like to ask you a difficult question, sir, from your book about debatable issues. Would you like to take us through it?
Yes. You see what happened in 1981. This Ghana birds, it was basically this park was Ghana bird sanctuary. It had the status of a sanctuary only, which was elevated to national park in 1981 only. It became Kevla Dev. And as per the legal provisions in the national park, no human activity, including grazing out, is not allowed. I mean, it is banned.
Right. Yes.
So when it became national park, it was imperative upon the management to close down the grazing. At that time, a lot of grazing was going on, especially the buffaloes from all around the park. There are 15 villages around it. They were all grazing inside.
Okay.
From long time. Of course, there was a wall all around the park, but still there were gates to allow them, and forcefully they were doing it.
Understood.
Now, when it could not be stopped, even after the legislature, then people approached. All the big shots. Finally, great Salim Ali Saab, Fateh Ali Saab, Mayu Abdullah Ali Saab, and Kailash Nakhla ji, who was the DFO here, and who was the chief fellow warden. So they all approached the Madam Gandhi, because she was the only one who could assist them. Great nature lover she was. She intervened and told the then Chief Minister of Rajasthan to stop this grazing altogether. Of course, after her word, the government geared up, pulled the socks, and they came. RAC and everything, they came into place. But still the graziers, they were adamant to continue the grazing. So unfortunate thing happened. There was a clash and 7 people died in that firing from the RAC. So it was such a bad, nothing could be worse than this. The relations also with the, neighbors, the relations were also so badly hit, which is worst for any park. And the
Absolutely.
Entire nature lover community, they were also sentimentally hurt. Everybody was. There was a commission which conducted the inquiry for quite long, though nobody was found guilty of that. But the places which got broken once, they could not be patched easily.
Correct. True.
Well, you see, it was the time when the park was also being denied water from outside.
Yes.
So the scarcity was also showing its hand and feet in the park. That means the habitat was also being affected for the migratory birds, especially Siberian crane. Naturally, it will discourage the birds to stay in the park for a long time.
Correct.
But the birds were there, because one year there is not much water, another year there is good water. Like that it was going on. More is there. After closing this grazing, there is one grass which is called Paspalam distichum. In Hindi, it is called pucha. It's a sweet grass, so much loved by the buffaloes. So when the buffaloes were there, naturally they were grazing on them. So it was under control. After the buffalo grazing was stopped, this was also growing a bit faster.
Understood.
it was the same time when BNHS took one 10 years project in the park under the principal scientist Dr. Vijayan,
Okay.
a well-known scientist world over. So he
Yes.
had taken that. Unfortunately, Dr. Vijayan, he didn't take much time in understanding the things in his own style. He concluded that, Siberian cranes are being diverted because the food of the Siberian crane is being impacted as it is being overtaken by this grass Paspalum distichum.
Understood.
So
Understood.
he said that, Paspalum distichum is the culprit, main culprit for diverting the Siberian cranes.
Okay.
Well, it was too, it was very immature kind of statement that way, but unfortunately, he kept on pushing it. He had a huge lobby in the center also, so he kept
Right,
pushing
right.
and pressurizing the government to uh, restart the buffalo grazing. Now you
Understood.
see, in a democratic setup, in a democratic government, 7 people have lost their lives. For what? Because the naturalists wanted, naturalists too of that scale, they wanted the buffalo grazing be stopped. So government
Correct.
took an action to stop. It
Correct.
costed us 7 years. Now, after 2 years, you say, no, sorry, that was not a proper decision. You should reverse the decision. It's not that easy for the government. It's not possible unless you comprehensively understand the things. You see, the interesting thing is that the OU University people,
Yes.
they conducted one huge project for 4 years. They were
Okay.
in the Bharatpur, and especially they focused on this thing, whether Paspalum distichum is responsible for the plight of the 7 cranes or not.
Yes.
Of course, a whole study, it's a published report, and the
Correct.
report is that no, Paspalum distichum should not be blamed for it. Paspalum distichum has not spoiled the habitat. Of course, some impact is there, but it is very useful for many other species like the and bees. There are many birds which breed on these. Birds feed
Correct.
on these. They roost on these, and several mammals are there. And they said it is indigenous species, so it should not be discouraged. That was their report.
Exactly.
And interestingly, the International Crane Foundation, they came out with the report that, no, the chief culprit is the Afghanistan and Pakistan area, where the macho men, they are putting all the birds. So it is not good. And you see, this kind of controversy ranged for a very, very long time. Since I was there all through, because that was the time, as I told you, I was a research officer there. So very closely associated with this all. I thought it was my earnest duty when I was writing the book to bring to the people facts of the entire case. So that is what debatable issues.
It's good that you bring up this topic. It may be politically incorrect, but truth has to be said. Ultimately, if the grass is indigenous, how is it that it is impacting the Siberian cranes? Because it's only easy to imagine that before bird watchers came into being, Siberian cranes have been always around. And if the grass, which was not introduced to this place, how is it that it suddenly started to impact these birds? I understand one thing is that these are long tail effects. So for something which is a long tail effect, its impact is known over 30, 40 years. You can't simply just jump to a conclusion by looking at limited information and over a limited period of time and make these hasty conclusions, and conclusions which could result in people losing their lives.
Yes, you're right. Exactly. I also feel like that. And, so this kind of controversy was certainly not very much desirable in the interest of the nature also.
Right, true.
See, if you make the government hostile, you're always depending upon them for several things. Now you ask water from them. So what will they say? They will say, you see, We have seen your judgments and scientific understandings. That is
Correct.
they have facts. As a manager, you think in a different way. As a pure scientist, only you think in a different way. So these
Absolutely.
are well, but one has to, if you have to run the show, if you have to really preserve the nature, you have to grow the nature, and you have to give life to the society. You have to be in a very balanced approach for this.
Exactly. Balance is required because when your local stakeholders want that water and you depend upon their very existence. I mean, it's only likely that the government is going to listen to the vote base. They won't listen to someone. अरे पक्षी पौधे देखने आए हैं, हमें उनकी नहीं पड़ी, हमें तो voters की पड़ी है. So that's where the conversation could drastically change in that direction, and by endangering relations with the local people, nothing can be really achieved. So I understand where this myopia comes in academia and how it has to be addressed in administration, because you have to take into account what the academic is saying, but also understand what ground reality has to do. Because tomorrow, the very existence of this national park could be threatened, it could be shut down, it could be declassified, anything could happen. So I see merit in your action and the points that you mentioned. So thank you very much, Sunayanji, for such insightful thoughts. Your book should definitely be read by upcoming academics, I hope so, that they understand what people problems are before proposing solutions, and hopefully they be people friendly. I only hope for that.
And well, you see, it's a book, so it's a document. What I felt, what I observed, it is all documented now. Now it is
Correct.
subject to be challenged by anybody, anytime, and I'm always to reply also. Well,
Understood.
whatever I think is totally out of my personal first-hand experience on the field. The
Understood.
experiment I conducted, fortunately, they proved very successful also, and well, I'm happy on that ground.
Correct.
Yet I'm open to criticism by anybody, anytime.
Wonderful. If you can permit me one last question, I'd like to ask you about your memorable encounters at Kevaladev National Park.
Well, you see, it's different from other mammal parks. Like if I talk about Seriska, I'll be able to tell you some stories, how I followed the tiger and how tiger started following me and
Correct.
made me to jump and climb a tree unsuccessfully, then getting down and running. It's different thing. And these parks are different. Well, you see, the fire, which nobody ever notices. I mean, at least the tourist goes there, or even the wildlife lovers, they hardly
Yeah.
pay attention to what goes into. The Kevaladev area, it has the finest and the biggest chunk of grass. If
Uh-huh.
more than 16 square kilometer chunk of grass, it is the only virgin chunk of grass in the entire Indo-Gangetic plain.
Wow.
So good. And management of that park is so difficult. Lots of ground birds, they nest there. Lot of
Correct.
eagles, they also make their nest in that grassland or the trees.
Mhm.
So the peregrine falcons, they come, they roost there, go outside, they feed outside, but they come and they roost there. They roost in very interesting way in colonies kind of things. So they are very, very important part of the entire ecosystem of this reserve, which make it really unique. Several birds are there only for the grassland. And but the management of the grassland, one hardly bothers about.
Okay.
Just one matchstick you throw inside, and it's like gunpowder.
True.
It's all into ashes. So, well, how you manage that? I can share one story. I'm talking about 89 or so. I was the research officer there, but the boss, the director then, Mr. Seni, he had gone on leave. So I was there, and I got the message that fire has come out in the area. We all, the system is that all the people, clerks, the rickshaw pullers, the guides, and the range officer, the guide, the director, everybody rushes to the fire site. That is one protocol. So we all rushed to, and I had two vehicles. I had two vehicles that time. So sometime I'll drive this vehicle and I'll leave that for the boys because something is to be brought through that. Then I'll walk, join second vehicle, or they will bring me a second vehicle. The collector came there because the moment there is information for Kevla Dev on fire, everybody rushes.
Okay.
He was watching me. What he was thinking that I'm just playing. I'm going like a hero in this one vehicle, then I'm going into another vehicle. I'm always wearing this hat. So he was thinking that I'm playing a hero-like thing. I'm displaying like this. So he was talking to him. I overheard that, and it was so disgusting. He was not in to bring any kind of help. He should have brought some fire brigades. Because there is military area also, and there is municipality also, and whatever came there they could not reach because they did not come with the trolleys also required for the area. But yet he was only looking from that perspective. The fire was so bad, so bad, and of course there is system of the counter fire. We employed that technique. There is a counter fire technique. If the fire is proceeding towards north, we will have another fire. We'll light another fire on the south side to drag it back, so that the intensity of the fire, and then you have opportunity of killing that. So we practiced that all, and ultimately we could control by 3 o'clock in the morning. Of course, it took so much time. We could control this, and. Second day I replied, I phoned the collector, I told him it was a hero-like job, but you could not appreciate the way it should have been. I would have been happy if you could really join me in firefighting. So, well, you see, there are challenges everywhere. Everywhere it is not only, the bird parks are very different from other reserves. And generally people understand that not much management is needed. But you see the fishing, if you remove the fishes or let the fishes be poached, which hardly can be noticed. The fish poaching can hardly be noticed because the people who come in the night, they may have the nets, they'll catch the fishes, have in the bags and go through another trek. And they disappear simply, and it is sold in the market. It fetches you cash money immediately. But the fishes are being allowed, or by oversight, or if you are negligent, if the fishes are taken away, now what will happen to your piscivorous birds? 15 important species of piscivorous birds, they make the spectacular world famed breeding colonies in Bharatpur. After which it is in sight. If there are no fishes, no breeding colonies. So well there are things. If you remove the other mammals, you are a little slack, the mammals will be affected. If the grassland area is fire, you can understand the mammal life, even the ground birds, they get burnt, and the eggs are gone, the nests are gone. So it improves so much. And well, these are the challenges you always have to. First, you have to identify them, and then you have to plan, and of course, act accordingly.
Understood. Thank you for your insights, Sunayanji. For all our viewers who are tuned in live, I would like to recommend you, please read this book, Birds in Paradise by Sunayan Sharma ji. You could find it on the Niyogi Books website. go ahead, order a copy now, and I assure you, you will find this absolutely insightful. Be you a bird watcher or be you someone interested in wildlife management or understanding how does Indian bureaucracy work, Sunan Sharma ji has written a wonderful account. I urge you all sincerely to go ahead and read this book. Thank you, Sunan ji, for your time today evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It was a wonderful experience. You made me relive my time bird watching in this time of lockdown. I'm having so much fun.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.